Young? Okay. So number 2 is going to tell them to set the enlarger lens to f8 or f5.6. Okay, so if you look at this lens, it's just like a camera lens. It has f-stops on it. And make sure they move that out of the way for what we're getting ready to do. So all of these that can be pushed out of the way. So if you look at this lens, f3.5 is the lowest most of them go. That's the brightest setting. All right. If we stop it down to f16, that is the dimmest setting, so it stops it down. So when light's going through it, that's the least amount of light that you can send through this enlarger head. So if I turn this on, it's kind of hard to see, but you may be able to see. It's kind of hard to see without. See that? The difference in the light? Mm-hmm. See, it's bright there and very, very dim there. The reason I tell them to start off in black and white photography, actually making prints is different than photograms. It's a guessing game. You got to find a starting point from a guesstimation and kind of go from there. With a contact print, it really helps you kind of figure out before you make enlargements what you captured on your film, because just looking at the film, you see the negatives, and that helps. But we're going to make positives, little thumbnails. These are original thumbnails, so that's what we're going to do. So f5.6 and f8 are good middle of the road starting points for amounts of light and intensity of light. What I tell them is, if you look at your negatives, hold them up to the light, and they look really, really, really light, then you don't want as much light. So you use f8, okay? If they look really, really, really dark, we want a little bit more light. So use that 5.6, okay? And I'll let them decide that. All right, and I wanted to show you that. So you come in, make sure you tell them, just like with photograms, when these lights are on, no paper can come out, none, because it'll ruin it as soon as you bring it out. So near the top of the rail, it can be head height, okay, somewhere about right in there. It doesn't have to be all the way to the top. And for these negatives, I'm going to use 5.6. So I've got it on 5.6. And just remember, just to adjust that, they can push the actual enlarging timer switch to focus, and that leaves the light on. So I'm going to click it back to off. So that's the first 2 steps on this. Number 3 says to turn off the room light and turn on the safe lights. So before we do that though, we need to set up some chemicals. Have you still got any Dettol left? Or paper?
I don't know.
E76. I don't think you do. Unless you got some already mixed up.
No, I don't know if I do.
What you want to do is mix up another thing with Dettol, because we'll need that for me to show you the rest of it.
What I used right here for?
Yeah, for the paper. Yeah, you'll need another gallon of Dettol for this. So that's actually about as far as we can go today. But I can come tomorrow afternoon and show you this part. If you want to mix up a thing of Dettol tomorrow at some point and just let it cool down, by the time I get here, it'll be cool. And I can come back if you got time. What is tomorrow, Thursday?
Wednesday.
So I'm gonna put 200 milliliters in here, just for what we're doing, and then I gotta add 400 of water to that, because it's a 2-to-1 mix. So we'll put 400, so it needs to go up to 600. I can see it. There it is.
Can we shut this off?
Yeah, you can. All right. Just like before when you did the photograms, there's your first tray. Then of course stop that and make sure it's straight over the bottom. Stop that. And then a cold water bath. All right, so we got our chemicals. All right, now, and I usually keep this one for this project. I'll keep it over here somewhere. And if you look up here, one thing you're gonna need is you're gonna need 1 by 10 strips of paper. 10 strips, 8 by 10 paper, okay. So this paper safe's labeled test strips. You're gonna need that for this. So now we're gonna go ahead and turn this off. Yeah, that should be fine. Can you still see? Mm-hmm. Okay. So inside of here, there should be one that says, see what says 1 by 10 test strips? Right there? So it's 1 inch by 10 inch test strips. That's what they need for this project. And that's envelope paper, but you gotta cut. So, let me see what we got down here. Yeah, so I need this. So we're gonna take it out of this paper right here. This is 8 by 10 photographic paper. So this will come in, it should be 2 large packages basically. Yeah, so it'll come in a pack like that. I'm gonna open that up. And sometimes that tape really sticks, so I just cut it with either a pair of scissors or a knife, and I try not to cut the bag to let light in. There we go. And you just cut a bunch of test strips. So I'm gonna pull out so everybody's got enough in case they mess up. The cardboard, I try to keep that in there because it keeps the paper from curling up if I can. But sometimes it's a pain to get back in. So we'll cut a few test strips, and I always roll that back up and put it down with the fold down in the box. So we got to cut some of those up. There should be a paper cutter in here. There it is. So we have this paper cutter, and I leave this in here for cutting test strips. So I just set that up there, and I'll cut 2, maybe 3 sheets at a time. And you want to cut 1 inch, since it's 8 by 10, I'll cut them 1 inch lengthwise that way. So I'll just start over here, and I'll just start at 7 and just start going back an inch at a time. Just like that. And then we'll cut a few more, just so you'll have plenty for when you do this. Yeah, look at these. Now I try to cut them as straight as I can. Once you get close to down to 2 inches, 1 inch, sometimes they get a little quicker, but for the test strip, that's okay. All right, so there's a good many of them there. And I always just keep that down here. And I always put these in here. And that should be plenty to last you a little while. You can always roll up that bag, put them in here. Because in here, see that is 4 by 5 by 7 paper. That should be in there. There we go. Stick that back in here. And there should be a paper save for that photograph paper. It is. There we go. Stick that in there. All right, and I usually will pull out what they need. So they're gonna need the test strips, and then they need 8 by 10 paper. And there that is right there. It feels like there's more in there. What's that? Photo frames. There. Yeah, there's 8 by 10 right there. So you got a good bit left in there right there. So what I'll do with this, like that, I never leave this out anywhere. So I'll squirrel that away somewhere where the kids can get home to it. And then they won't know what's there. So just remember that's right there in case
Okay.
you need it. All right, so now we're ready to go.